Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're back here with another match preview today as Stockport County look to take on Rotherham United back on home soil this weekend, back at Edgeley Park, obviously after beating Exeter 2-0 obviously away from home last weekend. Looks like a brilliant day out as well for those away fans. Roughly 800 I think it was that travelled to Exeter to see that 2-0 win. Two goals from Wootton. Is he silencing the critics? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Corey Adai as well, with his run into the end of the season, potentially Hinchcliffe could be back apparently before the end of the season. Would he get back between the sticks? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, is there potentially an injury crisis around the corner? A couple of midfielders have dropped out within the last few weeks. Are we facing a mini injury crisis? Team news as well going into the Rotherham game, league table, recent results and upcoming fixtures as well. We'll talk about a bit on the opposition stats and obviously a bit on county stats as well in recent times. We'll also talk about the end of the season awards as well, as the vote has come up for that this week, and then we'll also end on a score prediction as well. So lots to get into this week on the match preview, of course, after missing out on the game at Exeter at the weekend. Massively disappointed actually, looking at it, having missed out on that. It looks like a brilliant away day, brilliant weather, a clean sheet, 2 goals. Wootton with the 2 goals as well, and 3 points on the board. Edgeley's ever closer to guaranteeing the playoffs come the end of the season. So all in all, a perfect day at the office for Stockport County against Exeter last week. But it did come with some difficulties as well. Obviously, Owen Moxon came off. I think it was a broken nose. But Brecky Anderson, of course, concussed in training at Bristol the day before. So obviously he could be out for a week or so, Dave Chown, I think. So it did come with its small problems, but on the whole, it's a perfect weekend at Exeter. And then we go back to Edgeley Park this week, obviously against Rotherham, who find themselves 12th in the table. Obviously, County currently 4th in the table. And it does appear that we seem to be hitting form at the perfect time, I think it's fair to say. The Hatters have won 4 from the last 5 matches now. Wootton scoring 3 in his last 3 as well. Also having the goal taken off him versus Stevenage as well. That could have made it 4 in his last 3. Obviously, that went down officially as an own goal in that game against Stevenage. The 28-year-old has now taken his total up to 10 in the league this season, which is 2 more than what he ended last season with, and he's only 4 off his debut season in the club during the 22-23 season, where he scored 14 League 2 goals, but of course he missed out on the playoffs that time due to injury. So he could have his opportunity in the playoffs this time around. And is he silencing the critics in recent weeks? Well, I don't know if he is necessarily silencing the critics in recent weeks. I think that a lot of the criticism has been around the lack of goals, and I've been someone who's been critical of his lack of goals. And I think he scored 1 or 2 goals in that, recently, and that's obviously what we want. At the end of the day, if Wootton's scoring goals, that can only be a good thing for Stockport County, because in all likelihood, if he's scoring goals, County are scoring goals, and that gives us a better chance to win a game of football. But look, I think the criticism of Wootton has been fair to a degree. He isn't a natural finisher. I think we can all agree on that. I think he has struggled in recent times, particularly in the last couple of weeks. I'd say second half of the season has been more difficult for him until recently. And he has managed to get that little bit of an eye for goal. Even within that time, he's still missed some good opportunities as well. But that doesn't matter as much, because that means you're getting in the right positions, and he's made up for some of those misses by scoring some of the opportunities. So at the moment, I don't think there's too much to be critical of Wootton for, in all fairness. But I would say he hasn't silenced the critics, because the critics were about his lack of goals, and at that point in time there was a clear lack of goals, and now he has started to score goals. I don't think anyone's ever said he can't score goals. The criticism has been he isn't scoring goals, and I think now that we are seeing he's scoring goals, and hopefully at the right time as well, hopefully playing himself into a bit of form, which will hopefully sort of carry us into the playoffs, and hopefully over the line in the playoffs as well. So whilst I think there has been criticism of Wootton, I don't think there's any County fan that's going to be critical of him at the moment. He's scoring goals, he's doing his job. We're winning games of football, so that's all that matters. But as I say, I still think a lot of the criticisms are valid. Hopefully he does prove me wrong. I don't think he's a 15, 20 goal striker. If he can become that, then fair enough. Then he'll have silenced me. Then he'll have proven people wrong. But at the moment, a lot of those criticisms are still valid. But in the short term, he's scoring goals, and long may it continue. So we're going to talk about a little bit about team news. Obviously, we spoke about Moxon against Exeter. Anderson as well, picking up concussion the day before the game against Exeter last Friday. Lewis Spate is also obviously out with a hamstring injury. That was last week. Challoner said it will be unsure when he'll be back. Obviously, we know Camps is likely out for the rest of the season as well. So is there a little bit of an injury crisis starting to occur in the midfield? Lewis Spate is out, Cam Camps is out, Owen Moxon is out. So who's going to be that midfield partner next to Ollie Norwood this Saturday? That's going to be interesting. Is there an opportunity for Will Collar to drop deeper? Is there an opportunity for Nick Powell to get himself back into the starting 11? Could he have a pivotal say in these remaining 5 games of the season for Stockport County? That's what I'm interested to see, and I think he can do that, and I'm sort of hoping he will do that. Without further ado, let's get into the predicted 11. This is what I think Dave Challoner will pick going into the game against Rotherham this weekend. Of course, it is Corey Adai in goal. Brad Hill's back in the team at right back once again, as he has done of late. Horsfall and Ethan Pye, the 2 centre-backs in this back four, with Ibi Toure, of course, playing at left back. Brilliant ball as well, played into Tanto, I think, in the build-up to the second goal for Wootton at the weekend. That came from Ibi Toure. Wonderful ball down the left-hand side. Jaden Fevre will start on the right-hand side, I believe. Norwood and Will Collar is the 2-man midfield that I think Dave Challoner will look to go with. I think he'll go with Jack Diamond on the left, and I think he'll pick Cal Wootton and Tanto Alafi as those 2 strikers up top. As for me, my starting 11 would be slightly different to that. I would go with Corey Adai in goal, obviously Hills at right back, Horsfall, Pye as the 2 centre-backs, Ibi Toure at left back. Pretty much the same, actually. The only change for me is that midfield partner alongside Ollie Norwood. And for me, I would go with Nick Powell. I think he has got that quality. I think he's got the ability. And I've always felt that when he got injured against, I think it was Lincoln at the end of October, I always felt that he would come back at some point in the season and have a big say in County's end of the season. And the opportunity's there for him now with a little bit of a midfield injury crisis occurring. The opportunity does open itself up to Nick Powell, and hopefully he gets the opportunity to have a say on it, and hopefully he obviously takes that opportunity as well. So the same front 2 as well for me, Cal Wootton and Tanto Alafi. We don't know if Anderson's even going to be available, because Challoner did say it could be a week or 2, so that would rule him out for this game. I think it's probably more likely that Anderson comes in against Peterborough next Friday. I don't expect him to start the game on Saturday. He might not even make the bench. We'll have to wait and see. But Wootton's scoring goals at the moment, you can't argue with that. And Tanto Alafi has been crucial in Cal Wootton getting some of those goals, quite frankly, with some assists of late, and some heavy influence in the build-up to those goals as well. So at the moment, they're making a wonderful front 2 partnership up front, and I wouldn't look to change that. So that's the predicted 11 and the starting 11 I would look to go with. Want to get your thoughts on that one in the comments section below. Of course, we're now going to have a quick look at the league table. Of course, Stockport County do sit 4th in the League 1 table. 4 points from 3rd, 7 points from 2nd, and 8 points clear from dropping out of the playoffs. The Hatters need 8 more points, I think it is, from the remaining 5 matches to ensure playoffs is guaranteed. This could be done as early as Good Friday, next Friday, should County win and results go our way elsewhere, meaning it could be celebrations on the way back from Peterborough next week, which would be a brilliant way to celebrate. One of our last away games of the season, our second to last away game of the regular season. Obviously, we are anticipating that away trip in the playoffs, and who knows, maybe even a trip to Wembley. But yeah, it would be fantastic. Rotherham sit 12th on 54 points, level with Lincoln City and Barnsley. The Millers are 14 points off the playoffs and 15 points from the relegation zone as they look ahead to another season in League One. Rotherham are currently enjoying a new manager bounce, with ex-Stockport County and Rotherham-born Matt Hamshaw winning each of his first 3 matches in charge. Hamshaw took up the role on an interim basis, replacing Steve Evans in late March, and they've had an incredible turnaround since then. In terms of Rotherham United, it's not been a great season for them. I think they would say, by their own admission, I think they would have had hopes to have been a bit higher up the table. For me personally, I think obviously I predicted them to finish 17th, and I got a lot of stick for that. But sometimes in football there are surprises. I'm not that surprised with where they are, but I think many would say that they would be surprised. I think a lot of people thought they would have been in and around the playoffs this season. Who is the player to look out for then? I've not watched a lot of Rotherham this season other than maybe the reverse fixture just after Christmas. It wasn't a great game of football, that one. Joe Powell, though, I think seems to be one that's standing out from a stats point of view, as sort of one to watch. The 26-year-old ex-West Ham Academy player joined on a free from Burton, I think it was in the summer. He ranks first in League One for chances created, big chances created, expected assists, and expected assists per 90. The midfielder does have 7 assists in League One this season. The Millers' top scorer is Sam Nome, I think I want to say, who has 11 League One goals this season. He's scored twice in the last 3 matches. So there's some of the stats about Rotherham. Obviously, we're going to cover Stockport County as well here. Corey Adai, of course, is set for his, I think it's his ninth consecutive start since stepping in for an injured Hinchliffe versus Wigan in February. He's kept 4 clean sheets in those 9 starts while conceding just 6. He's kept back-to-back clean sheets in his last 2 matches. He'd achieved that twice during his spell in goal at the beginning of the season. And of course, Cal Wootton, 3 in his last 3. Typically, this season, his direct goal involvements have come in 3 to 4 game bursts. Here's hoping he can keep this form going because, as I say, he has found the back of net. He has looked a little bit sharper of late. And I think that the fact he's got a fit and firing Tanto Alafi alongside him has probably helped that as well. Also with the wide players coming into the mix a little bit more often in the last few weeks, obviously change of formation. I think that's probably helped us get a bit more out of Wootton as well. I want to get people's thoughts on that one. Obviously, a lot of people backed Wootton throughout the season anyway, so a lot of people would say he's played well this season and he's just maybe not had the right support network around him, or maybe not had the players to play in. But for me, I've obviously I've been critical of him, but at the moment you can't be critical. The criticism is mainly of him scoring, a lack of goals. Now he's getting a few goals, so long may it continue. In terms of the Player of the Year, and just before I want to get into the Player of the Season awards, I do want to talk about Adai, of course. I think there has been a little bit of talk that maybe Hinchliffe could be back before the end of the season. I was hearing a few rumours around that. I think it was last week. And I suppose the question would be, is if that was the case, let's say Hinchliffe could be back before the end of the season, would people look to switch who is in goal? For me personally, I wouldn't. I think Adai's been really solid over the last few weeks. I think that you're looking for trouble if you change the goalkeeper in this situation. As long as Adai's putting in solid performances, I wouldn't look to change the goalkeeper. Obviously, if he drops an absolute clanger, you can't really risk that going into the playoffs where it could come down to one moment. It could be really extremely fine margins. So you do have to have who you believe is the best goalkeeper in goal for those kind of moments. But at the moment, Corey Adai's been really solid, and even if Hinchliffe was to come back, for me, he would be on the bench. I want to get people's thoughts on that one. Do you think that's a controversial thing? Would you put Hinchliffe back in goal if you had the opportunity to with these last few games of the season? For me as well, another thing, I think that this could be a problem as well, though, because I think Adai's played better over the last few weeks because the people that wanted Hinchliffe in goal know he's injured, so they're not asking for, let's say Adai makes a tiny mistake or he kicks it out, in a way which the fans don't want. You're not hearing bloody hell get Adai, get Hinchliffe back in goal, because even those fans that want that know that he can't go in goal. So because there isn't that, that key figure in Ben Hinchliffe on the bench just waiting to take your place, I think Adai's felt a lot more. I think he's felt less pressured, and because he's felt less pressure, I think that's why he's been able to perform to a higher level. I do worry that if Hinchliffe was to come back, that even if he's on the bench, Adai knows that place could be taken, and if he makes one mistake, he could be dropped. But then the pressure starts to come back in again. Would he still be performing as well as he has done now if Hinchliffe was on the bench, because the pressure is there more? I want to get people's thoughts on that, if that made any sense. But yeah, end of season awards, obviously. There's a Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and Goal of the Season as well. Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and Goal of the Season. And I think, look, this is an interesting one. Goal of the Season for me Louis Barry's got so many good goals this season, despite only being there for the first half of the season. It's hard to pick between. It's hard to pick a sort of a best goal out of all those Barry goals in itself. I mean, that could have been an end of season goal award of itself, just Barry's goals. Because it's so hard to pick my favourite out of those goals, I have just gone with Tanto Alafi's goal against Bolton. And maybe it's because it's more recent in the memory. I just thought it was a brilliant individual goal. But Barry's goals have obviously been incredible, and all of them were incredible. At the beginning of the season, it just felt like any goal that he was going to score ended up being a contender for goal of the season. Obviously, many of those have turned out to be contenders for goal of the season. I think you're picking between some unbelievable goals there, and as I say, you've got the one at Cambridge, you've got the one at Blackpool. There's other goals as well. Even at Rotherham, I think it was a good, decent goal from Louis Barry by his standards. I say decent. Most people would love to have scored a goal like that. But Tanto Olafi's goal against Bolton was an incredible goal. It is more recent in the memory. I have gone with that goal. Player of the Year is an interesting one because can Player of the Year be the same as Young Player of the Year? For me, I think it can be. And on purely on that basis, I have gone with Ethan Pye as Player of the Year and also Young Player of the Year. I just think that no one has been more complete this season than him. I think he's been so consistent. I think Lewis Spate has been close, at times to that, but Ethan Pye has just been levels ahead. So he does get Player of the Year for me, and he does also fall into the category of Young Player of the Year because he is, 22, 23, and I think Young Player of the Year is, in my opinion, should be 23 and under. So I think Ethan Pye, Young Player of the Year, and Player of the Year. But if I had to say, right, you can only give Ethan Pye one, and he's going to be Young Player of the Year, then for me, it'd probably be Ollie Norwood as Player of the Year. So I want people's thoughts on that one. Do you think that it has to be separate? Can it be the same player for both? Want to get your thoughts on that? And I also want to get your thoughts on who you think should be Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and of course that Goal of the Season as well. Score prediction is going to be an interesting one. Like I say, against Rotherham, wasn't a great game last time out. We probably should have won it if my memory serves me correct. I can't remember that long ago, to be honest. Obviously, it was Louis Barry's last game in a county shirt as well, so it was the last time we saw Louis Barry. But yeah, score prediction, I'm confident. Look, back at Edgeley Park as well. I'm going back to, I'm going to this one as well at the weekend, so the vlog will be on the channel. Like I say, looking forward to it. We've been looking a little bit better since we brought the wide players in as well over the last few weeks, so hopefully that's here to stay. Love watching Jaden Fevre play. Jack Diamond's been good on the left-hand side as well. And Wootton scoring, so it's wins all round, isn't it? Score prediction, I said 3-0 last week, and I was gutted that we scored 2 in the first half an hour, and then we just seemed to. Obviously, I've not seen it, but just from keeping up with it, it felt like we scored the 2 goals, started well, and then maybe took our foot off the gas. That's going to happen, especially when you're picking up injuries in the midfield. There's no reason to go gung-ho unless you feel like you need to rack up goals. So I think we might see a similar thing on Saturday, an early start, maybe comfortable in the game, take our foot off the gas and not really push for more. So if that is the case, then I think maybe we're probably looking at another 2-0 County win. So there we go then, that's been my thoughts on Stockport County. We spoke about the Player of the Season awards, we've spoke about Cal Wootton, Izzy Science and the critics, we spoke about Corey Adai as well. Also give it a little bit on opposition stats, same with County, and obviously going with that 2-0 County win in my score prediction. So I want to get your thoughts and all that in the comment section below, of course. Do get your score predictions in as well. We will be back on the channel with the vlog. It will be going out Saturday night, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Don't forget to like the video. As I say, do get your comments in as usual. Subscribe if you are new. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.